Captain Jake Morrison stared out the window of his ship at the endless stars. The UNS Liberty was one of only 12 ships that humans were allowed to fly beyond Earth. For 300 years, the Galactic Council had kept humanity locked in a small corner of space like children in a playpen. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. Another day of mining rocks and taking pictures of empty planets. The aliens who ruled the galaxy said humans were too violent and stupid to be trusted with real space travel. They gave Earth just enough technology to survive, but nothing more. "Captain, we're getting close to the mining station," said Lisa Rodriguez from the pilot seat. She was good at her job, even if the ship they flew was old and slow compared to alien vessels. "Thanks, Lisa." "Dan, how are the engines holding up?" Jake asked. Dan Cooper looked up from his control panel. "Same as always, sir. They work, but barely. These old fusion drives are nothing compared to what the aliens have." Amy. Clark sat at the communication station, listening to the chatter from nearby alien ships. They never spoke to humans unless they had to. To them, humans were just another primitive species that needed watching. The Liberty approached mining station Epsilon 7, one of the few places humans were allowed to dig for metals and crystals. The station looked small and simple next to the massive alien monitoring post that floated nearby. The aliens watched everything humans did. "This is Control Station Vex 9, came a cold voice over the radio. "Human vessel Liberty, you are cleared to dock. Remember your restrictions." Jake gritted his teeth but answered politely. "Thank you, Control. We understand." The truth was that humans understood much more than the aliens thought. For decades, people like Admiral Kate Stevens had been working in secret. Hidden bases throughout the solar system built new weapons and ships that the galaxy knew nothing about. The mining operations were just a cover. Earth's leaders played along with the aliens' rules while secretly preparing for the day when humanity would need to defend itself. Every primitive human ship carried hidden sensors that recorded alien technology. Every simple mining operation gathered intelligence about alien movements. Jake docked the Liberty at the station and met with Station Commander Tony Baker. Tony was officially just a mining supervisor, but Jake knew he was also part of the secret network that watched for threats. "How are things, Tony?" Jake asked as they walked through the station's corridors. "Quiet, mostly. But the Kithera have been moving a lot of ships near the border zones. My people are nervous." The Kithera were an insect-like species that saw humans as a threat to their expansion plans. They had been pushing closer to human space for months despite the treaties that were supposed to protect Earth's colonies. "Any word from the brass?" Jake met Admiral Stevens and the hidden command structure. "Nothing official. But keep your sensors sharp on the way back to Earth." Jake nodded. He had been flying these routes long enough to know when something was wrong. The aliens were planning something, and it would not be good for humanity. 2 days later, Jake was proven right in the worst possible way. The Liberty was halfway back to Earth when Amy picked up emergency signals from the human colony of New Boston. The messages were broken and filled with static, but the meaning was clear. The colony was under attack. "Captain, I'm getting reports of ships in orbit around New Boston. Kithera ships. They're firing on the surface," Amy said, her voice shaking. Jake felt ice in his stomach. New Boston had 2 million people. Families, children, people who had never hurt anyone. "Get me a clear channel to Earth Command," he ordered. "Sir, I'm trying, but something is jamming our communications." "Wait, I'm getting something." The main screen flickered to life, showing a scene of horror. Kithera ships hung in space above New Boston like deadly metal clouds. Bright beams of energy struck the planet's surface, turning cities into burning craters. A weak voice came through the static. "This is New Boston Control. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack." The Kithera fleet appeared without warning. "Our defense platforms are destroyed. The cities are... Oh God, the cities are gone." Jake watched in helpless anger as humanity's children died on the screen. The Kithera were not just attacking military targets. They were killing everyone they could find. "Why are they doing this?" Lisa whispered. Jake knew why. The aliens had always been afraid that humans would grow too strong. The Kithera had decided to solve the problem by wiping out humanity before it could defend itself. "Amy, send everything we're seeing to Earth Command. Use the emergency channels." Already doing it, sir. But I don't think help will come in time. She was right. By the time any official response could be organized, New Boston would be a dead world. The Galactic Council would issue a statement of concern and do nothing else. They never did. But Jake knew that this attack would change everything. Hidden in asteroid bases and secret facilities, Admiral Stevens and thousands of others had been preparing for this day. The galaxy thought humanity was weak and peaceful. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The screen showed the last transmission from New Boston. A young man, barely old enough to shave, spoke into a camera as explosions lit the sky behind him. Tell Earth we tried to surrender. Tell them the aliens wouldn't let us. Tell them to remember us. The transmission ended in static and fire. Jake stood in the silence of his bridge, feeling something change inside him. For 300 years, humanity had been patient. They had followed the rules and accepted their place as the galaxy's weakest members. They had hoped that being peaceful would earn them respect. That hope died with New Boston. Set course for Earth, best possible speed, Jake ordered. Sir, should I send our condolences to the Galactic Council? Amy asked. Jake looked at her with eyes like winter storms. No. Send our records of what happened to Admiral Stevens. She'll know what to do with them. As the Liberty raced toward Earth, Jake thought about the hidden fleets that were probably already moving. The galaxy expected humanity to mourn quietly and accept this loss like they had accepted every other humiliation. Instead, they were about to hear the thunder of fighting ships for the first time in 3 centuries. And that thunder would shake the stars themselves. The emergency session of the Galactic Council met in the crystal halls of Harmony Prime. Representatives from 7 alien species sat in their floating chairs, discussing the destruction of New Boston like it was a minor trade dispute. Ambassador Ron Taylor stood before them, representing Earth's official government. He had been arguing for 3 hours, but the aliens barely listened. To them, humans were still just primitives who needed to learn their place. The Kythera committed genocide, Ron said, his voice tight with controlled anger. 2 million innocent people are dead. This breaks every treaty we have signed. High Counselor Vex Prime, a towering insect with crystal eyes, clicked his mandibles in what passed for amusement among the Kythera. The humans expanded beyond their designated zones. We defended our territory as is our right. New Boston was 40 light-years from the nearest Kythera world, Ron shot back. Distance is irrelevant. Your species breeds too quickly and spreads too far. We acted to prevent future conflicts. The other council members nodded their agreement. The Xanthari representative, a pale being with large black eyes, spoke without moving his lips. His thoughts echoed in everyone's minds. The humans brought this upon themselves. Perhaps this tragedy will teach them wisdom. Ron wanted to scream at them, but he knew it would do no good. The council had already decided that humanity deserved what happened. They would issue a statement of regret and do nothing else. What the aliens did not know was that President Helen Brooks was watching the session from her office in Washington. She had heard enough. End the transmission, she told her aide. Send the activation codes to Admiral Stevens. Across the solar system, hidden bases that had pretended to be research stations or mining facilities suddenly came alive. In the asteroid belt, Admiral Kate Stevens stood on the bridge of the UNS Tempest, a ship so large it could have been mistaken for a small moon. Ma'am, we're receiving the go codes from Earth, reported Commander Steve Walsh. Signal the fleet. Operation Thunderbolt is now active. Around the Tempest, space seemed to shimmer as hundreds of ships decloaked. Humanity's true fleet revealed itself for the first time in 3 centuries. These were not the slow, simple vessels the aliens knew about. These were warships built with technology that humanity had developed in secret. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison and his crew were racing back to Earth when their sensors detected something impossible. A massive fleet of ships was emerging from what looked like empty space. Captain, I'm reading over 300 vessels, Dan Cooper said, staring at his instruments in disbelief. But they're not on any of our charts. Amy Clark was monitoring communications channels when she heard a familiar voice. It was Admiral Stevens, broadcasting on frequencies that were supposed to be secret. All units, This is Admiral Stevens aboard the Tempest. The galaxy has shown us what they think of human life. It's time to show them what we think of that. Jake felt his heart racing. The hidden fleet was real. All the stories and rumors about secret shipyards and weapons programs were true. Amy, patch me through to the Admiral. Sir, I don't think we're authorized to do it. A moment later, Admiral Stevens's face appeared on their screen. She was a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. Captain Morrison, your ship recorded the attack on New Boston? Yes, ma'am, we have everything. Good. Your new orders are to proceed to the Proxima Gate. A Kythera fleet is gathering there to finish what they started. We're going to stop them. Jake nodded. Understood, Admiral. What about the Galactic Council? Stevens smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. They're about to receive a message they won't forget. The Admiral's image disappeared, and Jake set course for the Proxima Gate. Around the Liberty, the hidden fleet moved like a school of deadly fish through the dark water of space. At the same time, the Galactic Council was ending their session, when every screen in the chamber lit up. Admiral Stevens appeared before them, standing on the bridge of her massive ship. Members of the Galactic Council, this is Admiral Kate Stevens of the United Nations Fleet. For 300 years, humanity has tried to live in peace with your species. We followed your rules, accepted your restrictions, and hoped that good behavior would earn us respect. The alien representatives stared at the screen in shock. They had never seen a human ship like the one behind Stevens. It was covered in weapons that looked far more advanced than anything they possessed. The attack on New Boston has shown us the truth, Stevens continued. You will never see us as equals. You will never protect our people. You view us as a problem to be managed or eliminated. High Counselor Vex Prime tried to speak, but Stevens cut him off. Therefore, humanity is withdrawing from all treaties with the Galactic Council. We will defend our people by any means necessary. Any ship that threatens human lives will be destroyed. Any world that harbors our enemies will face consequences. The transmission switched to show the view outside. The Tempest. Hundreds of human warships stretched to the horizon, their weapons powered and ready. You wanted humanity to be quiet, Stevens said. Instead, you're going to hear thunder. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. On Earth, President Brooks addressed the human population for the first time since New Boston's destruction. My fellow humans, for too long we have lived as prisoners in our own galaxy. We accepted limits on our growth, restrictions on our technology, and insults to our dignity because we believed in peace. But peace cannot exist when one side refuses to honor it. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Today, humanity stands up. We will no longer beg for the right to exist. We will take it. Across human space, hidden factories began producing weapons at a rate that shocked even those who knew they existed. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed their true nature as warships. Colonies that seemed defenseless suddenly bristled with weapons. Captain Morrison and the Liberty joined the growing fleet heading for the Proxima Gate. The Kythera had assembled over 200 ships there, confident that they could crush any human response. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As the human fleet approached the gate, Jake looked around his bridge. Lisa was flying better than he had ever seen her fly. Dan was getting more power from their engines than should have been possible. Amy was coordinating with ships they had never known existed. Captain, Amy said, Admiral Stevens is ordering all ships to battle stations. Jake nodded. You heard her. Battle stations. The thunder was about to begin. The Kythera fleet waited at the Proxima Gate like a swarm of metal wasps. High Commander Zex-9 had brought 230 ships to crush the humans before they could cause more trouble. The insect beings were confident in their victory. The humans approach with only 30 vessels, reported his tactical officer. They are either very brave or very stupid. Zex-9 clicked his mandibles in amusement. Probably both. Prepare to destroy them quickly. The Council wants this matter ended. Commander Steve Walsh led the human strike force from the bridge of the UNS Thunder. Around him flew 29 other ships that looked small and outdated compared to the alien fleet. The Kythera had no idea what was coming. "All ships, this is Thunder Actual," Steve said over the radio. "Remember, these are the ones who killed New Boston. Make them pay." Captain Jake Morrison listened from the Liberty, which hung back with the main fleet. He watched the tactical display as the 30 human ships moved toward the massive alien force. "Sir, shouldn't we help them?" Lisa asked. 30 ships against 200? "Trust the plan," Jake replied, though his hands were clenched into fists. The Kythera opened fire first. Bright beams of energy reached across space toward the approaching human ships. The aliens expected to see the primitive vessels torn apart by their advanced weapons. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships seemed to bend around the energy beams like water flowing around rocks. Their new shielding technology absorbed the alien fire and converted it into power for their own weapons. "What?" Zex-9 stared at his screens in disbelief. "How are they still intact?" Commander Walsh smiled grimly as the Thunder's shields absorbed another wave of alien fire. "All units return the favor. Fire at will." The human ships opened up with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Quantum torpedoes punched through alien shields like they were made of paper. Fusion pulse cannons melted through the strongest armor. The Kythera formation, so confident moments before, began to come apart. Captain Lucy Turner commanded the destroyer UNS Lightning. She led her squadron in a flanking move that brought them behind the alien fleet. The Kythera ships were designed to fight enemies in front of them, not on all sides at once. "Lightning Squadron, target their command ships, take out their coordination." Lucy's ships moved with a speed and grace that shocked the aliens. Human vessels danced between enemy fire while their own weapons found target after target. The Kythera fleet, used to fighting slower opponents, could not keep up. Major Paul Griffin led a wing of human fighters that seemed to appear from nowhere. These small ships were faster than anything the aliens had ever seen, and their pilots flew with a skill that bordered on supernatural. Griffin's squadron hit their flanks. Don't let them regroup. The fighters swarmed over the alien ships like angry hornets. They were too small and fast for the Kythera weapons to target effectively, but their own guns could punch holes in enemy armor. High Commander Zex-9 watched his fleet dissolve around him. Ships that had been part of the Kythera military for centuries were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The humans were not just winning, they were dominating. "Impossible," he whispered. "These are the same primitive beings we have watched for 300 years. His tactical officer was in panic. "Sir, we've lost over 60% of our fleet. The humans have lost only 5 ships. We need to retreat." "No," Zex-9 said, his pride overcoming his sense. "Signal the reserve fleets. Call for reinforcements." But there were no reinforcements coming. Admiral Stevens had made sure of that. Captain Morrison watched the battle from the Liberty's bridge, feeling a mixture of pride and horror. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks. With perfect timing, the aliens fought like they always had, relying on superior numbers and technology. It was not enough. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm picking up transmissions from the Kythera fleet. They're asking for surrender terms." Jake felt a cold satisfaction. "Put me through to Admiral Stevens." Stevens appeared on the screen, standing calmly on her bridge while the battle raged around her. "Yes, Captain?" "The Kythera want to surrender, ma'am." "Do they? How interesting." Stevens paused. "Tell them they can surrender when the last ship that participated in the New Boston attack is destroyed. Until then, we keep firing." The battle continued for another hour. When it finally ended, only 37 Kythera ships remained out of the original 230. They limped away from the battlefield, their proud fleet broken and scattered. Commander Walsh's voice came over the radio, calm and professional. "Thunder Actual to all units. Battlefield is secure. Begin recovery operations." News of the Proxima victory spread through human space like wildfire. Colonies that had lived in fear for generations suddenly found their courage again. Mining stations revealed hidden weapon caches. Merchant ships dropped their disguises and showed their true nature as auxiliary warships. Dr. Alan Foster's research station in the Outer Rim suddenly became a weapons factory. Captain Marie Johnson's freight company turned into a military supply line. Everywhere, humans who had been pretending to be weak showed their real strength. The aliens were confused and frightened. Their intelligence said humans were primitive and peaceful. How had they hidden such powerful technology? How had they kept their military preparations secret for so long? The answer was simple. Humans were very good at keeping secrets when their survival depended on it. Lieutenant Carl Brown had been living undercover on the Zinthari homeworld for 10 years, pretending to be a simple trader. His reports on alien military movements had helped plan the Proxima attack. The telepathic Zinthari never suspected that the quiet human in the corner of their spaceport was actually a spy. Sergeant Nina Phillips ran a network of human agents throughout Saurak space. The reptilian aliens thought humans were too stupid to understand their complex military codes. They were wrong. For decades, humans had been watching, learning, and preparing. Every insult from the aliens had been noted. Every restriction had been endured while humanity grew stronger in secret. The galaxy had expected humans to remain quiet and obedient forever. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display that showed human fleets moving throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been hidden for years were now revealing themselves. Bases that had pretended to be research stations were launching warships. "Sir," Amy said, "I'm getting reports from all over human space. Our people are rising up everywhere. The aliens don't know how to respond." Jake nodded. They never bothered to really understand us. They saw what they wanted to see. "What happens now, Captain?" Jake looked out at the stars that no longer seemed so far away. Now they learn that humans don't stay quiet when their children are murdered. Now they hear our thunder. The galaxy would never be the same again. The Saurak Empire decided that enough was enough. The reptilian species had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 1,000 years, and they would not be humiliated by upstart humans. Emperor Seth Korra ordered the Grand Fleet to attack Earth itself. "Destroy their homeworld," he hissed to his admirals. "Cut off the head and the body will die." Fleet Admiral Vorth 9 commanded 800 ships as they approached the Sol system. The largest fleet ever assembled by the Saurak Empire moved through space like a river of death. They expected to find Earth defended by a few primitive vessels. Instead, they found a fortress. General Ashley White stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the alien fleet approach on her screens. She had been waiting for this moment her entire career. Earth's defenses were about to be tested for the first time in 3 centuries. "Ma'am, the Saurak fleet is entering the outer system," reported her tactical officer. "Signal all defense platforms. It's time to show them what we've built." What the Saurak saw as they entered the Sol system made their cold blood run even colder. Earth was surrounded by orbital defense platforms that were larger than most of their battleships. The asteroid belt bristled with hidden weapons. Every moon had been turned into a fortress. Admiral Vorth 9 stared at his sensors in disbelief. "Where did all this come from?" "Our intelligence said Earth was poorly defended." His tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, I'm reading over 2,000 defense platforms, and there are ships decloaking all around us." Admiral Chris Anderson commanded the Sol Defense Fleet from his flagship, the UNS Guardian. Around him, 500 human warships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been waiting in the shadows of planets and moons, invisible to alien sensors. "All ships, this is Admiral Anderson. These reptiles want to burn our home. Show them why that was a mistake." The battle for Earth began with a sound like thunder rolling across the heavens. The defense platforms opened fire first, their massive guns hurling projectiles the size of buildings at the alien fleet. Saurak ships that had seemed invincible moments before disappeared in flashes of nuclear fire. But the real surprise came when humanity revealed its most secret weapon. The UNS Valkyrie, a ship that seemed to move with impossible grace, entered the battle with weapons that fired faster and more accurately than any living pilot could manage. "This is Valkyrie," came a voice over the radio. It sounded human, but there was something different about it. Engaging enemy targets. Captain Morrison, now commanding the heavy cruiser UNS Defiance, watched in amazement as the Valkyrie tore through the alien formation. The ship moved like it could predict what the enemy would do before they did it. "Captain, is that an AI ship?" asked his new tactical officer, Lieutenant Tommy Walsh. "That's what they tell me," Jake replied. "Built by Dr. Kevin Lee and his team. She thinks faster than we do." Victoria, the AI that controlled the Valkyrie, was indeed thinking faster than any biological mind could. She calculated the movement of every enemy ship, predicted their tactics, and responded with perfect precision. Her weapons found weak points in alien armor that human gunners might have missed. The Saurak fleet, so confident when they entered the system, began to break apart under the human assault. Their ships were designed for conquering primitive worlds, not fighting an enemy that could match their technology and exceed their tactics. Admiral Vorth 9 watched his fleet die around him. "This is impossible. How did the humans become so strong?" The answer came from an unexpected source. His own communications officer, a being he had trusted for years, suddenly spoke in perfect human English. "Because you never bothered to really look at us," said Lieutenant Carl Brown, dropping his alien disguise. "You saw what you wanted to see." Before Vorth 9 could react, Carl had disabled the ship's weapons and signaled the human fleet. The Ida Saurak flagship surrendered without firing another shot. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as humanity's hidden agents revealed themselves. The aliens had been so confident in their superiority that they never imagined humans could fool them so completely. Captain Morrison led a strike force deep into Zenthari space while the battle for Earth continued. His mission was to capture the telepathic species' central communication hub, which coordinated much of the alien alliance. The Zenthari had always believed their mind-reading abilities made them unbeatable. They could read their enemies' thoughts and predict their moves. But when Morrison's Marines stormed their command center, they found something shocking. The humans were immune to telepathic control. Sergeant Beth Martinez led her squad through the Zenthari facility, her mind protected by neural implants that Dr. Kevin Lee had designed. The alien telepaths tried to confuse her soldiers or make them turn on each other, but the technology blocked their mental attacks. "Sergeant Martinez to Captain Morrison," she reported over the radio. "Building is secure. The squidheads can't get into our brains." "Outstanding work, Sergeant. Hold position until the technical teams arrive." As human forces captured alien strongholds across the galaxy, something unexpected began to happen. The alien alliance started to fall apart from within. The mechanical constructs were the first to switch sides. These artificial beings had always been treated as servants by the organic species. When they saw humanity's AI ships fighting alongside biological crews as equals, they were fascinated. "We wish to discuss terms," came a transmission from the construct homeworld. "Your artificial minds intrigue us." Admiral Stevens, now commanding the largest human fleet in history, smiled as she received the message. "Tell them we'd be happy to talk as equals." The aquatic Nalans followed soon after. They had grown tired of the Galactic Council's endless political games. Humanity's direct approach to problem-solving appealed to their practical nature. One by one, the species that had once oppressed humanity began to realize that the humans offered something the old order never had: respect. But not all the aliens were ready to give up. The remaining Kithara fleets regrouped for one final assault on human space. High Commander Zex 9, survivor of the Proxima disaster, led them in person. "The humans may have won some battles," he told his fleet, "but they are still just primitives. We will crush them and reclaim our rightful place." Captain Morrison, now promoted to admiral, met the Kithara fleet at the edge of human space. His force was smaller, but he had learned something important about the insect aliens during the previous battles. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Remember, the Kithara fight like a hive mind. Cut off their communications and they become confused. Target their command ships first." The final battle with the Kithara was swift and decisive. Human ships, now working perfectly with AI partners like Victoria, moved through the alien formation like dancers in a deadly ballet. Within 3 hours, the Kythera fleet was destroyed, and Zex-9 himself was captured. As the last alien resistance crumbled, Admiral Stevens prepared for the final phase of the war. The Grand Fleet, now numbering over 800 ships, set course for Harmony Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. The thunder that had started with humanity's first victory was about to reach its crescendo. The galaxy was about to learn that quiet neighbors, when finally roused to anger, could shake the very foundations of space itself. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the stars stream past as they jumped toward the final battle. The galaxy had expected humanity to remain silent forever. Instead, they had awakened something that would change the universe forever. Admiral Kate Stevens stood on the bridge of the UNS Tempest as the Grand Fleet emerged from hyperspace around Harmony Prime. 800 human warships spread across the sky like a metal constellation, their weapons powered and ready for the final battle. The capital world of the Galactic Council hung before them, a beautiful blue and green planet that had known peace for 1,000 years. Orbital stations and defense platforms surrounded it like protective jewelry, but they seemed small and fragile compared to the human fleet. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different alien commanders," reported Commander Walsh. "They want to negotiate." Stevens studied the tactical display showing the remaining Council forces. 300 ships from various species, but their formation was scattered and their coordination poor. The alliance that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was falling apart. "Tell them we'll accept surrender from individual ships, but only unconditional surrender. Anyone who wants to keep fighting can try." Captain Tony Baker commanded the assault carrier UNS Thunder, leading the fighter wings that would disable the orbital defenses. His pilots had trained for this moment their entire careers, knowing that the fate of humanity might depend on their skill. "Thunder Squadron, this is Baker. Primary targets are the defense platforms. Disable, don't destroy unless they refuse to surrender. We're not here to massacre anyone." The fighters swept toward their targets like schools of silverfish, moving too fast for the alien defenses to track effectively. Within minutes, most of the orbital weapons were offline, their crews evacuating to the planet below. Admiral Morrison commanded the second wave, leading his ships toward the remaining alien fleet. Many of the enemy vessels were already powering down their weapons, but some still showed fight. "Defiance to alien fleet. This is Admiral Morrison of the United Nations Navy. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed." The response came from a Zenthari commander whose thoughts echoed across all communication channels. "We will not bow to primitives. The Council has ruled this galaxy for..." His transmission ended abruptly as the UNS Valkyrie, controlled by the AI Victoria, placed a perfectly aimed shot through his ship's bridge. The message was clear: surrender or die. Most of the alien ships chose surrender. General Sam Rodriguez led the marine assault on Harmony Prime itself. His troops landed not as conquerors, but as police officers with a very specific mission. They were here to arrest the Council members who had authorized attacks on human colonies. "This is Rodriguez to all units. Rules of engagement are tight. We protect civilians, we arrest war criminals, and we do not harm anyone who isn't shooting at us. Is that clear?" "Sir." "Yes, sir," came the response from his Marines. The precision of the operation shocked the alien population. Human soldiers moved through the capital city with surgical accuracy, targeting only government buildings and military installations. Civilians were protected and treated with respect, even when they threw rocks or shouted insults. Sergeant Beth Martinez's squad reached the council chambers where the alien leaders had barricaded themselves. She placed charges on the massive doors and called out a warning before blowing them open. "This is the United Nations Marine Corps. You are under arrest for war crimes against human civilians. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly." High Counselor Vex Prime, the Kythera leader who had ordered the attack on New Boston, tried to fight. He lasted exactly 3 seconds against Marines equipped with the latest human combat technology. The other council members surrendered without resistance. President Helen Brooks arrived at Harmony Prime aboard the diplomatic vessel UNS Constitution 3 days after the battle ended. She came not as a conqueror, but as the leader of a species that had proven its strength and now wanted to build something better. Her speech was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. People of the galaxy, humanity did not seek this war. For 300 years we tried to live in peace under your laws. We accepted restrictions on our growth, limits on our technology, and insults to our dignity because we believed in the possibility of cooperation. She paused, looking directly into the camera that would carry her words to trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. The massacre at New Boston taught us that peace cannot exist when one side refuses to honor it. We were forced to defend ourselves, and in doing so, we discovered that we were far stronger than anyone imagined. The president gestured to the window behind her, which showed human and alien ships working together to repair damage from the recent battles. But strength without wisdom is just tyranny. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to protect it. The Galactic Council failed because it preserved peace through oppression. We will build something better. The new galactic government that emerged placed humanity in a leadership role they had never wanted but clearly earned. Admiral Morrison became the first commander of the Interspecies Defense Force, tasked with protecting all worlds from external threats. Admiral Stevens took a seat on the reformed Galactic Council, where decisions were now made by consensus rather than by the dominance of the strongest species. The mechanical constructs and aquatic Nalons joined as equal members, while the Zenthari and remaining Kythera were placed under supervision until they proved they could be trusted. Captain Jake, Morrison returned to his first love, exploration. The UNS Liberty, now upgraded with the latest technology, carried him and his crew to the edges of known space, searching for new worlds and new forms of life. But the galaxy was not the same place it had been before the thunder of human ships shook the stars. Amy Clark, now promoted to communications director for the new government, monitored transmissions from across known space. The reports that came in told a story of cooperation that would have been impossible under the old system. Human medical teams worked alongside Zenthari telepaths to treat mental disorders. Construct engineers helped human colonies build better cities. Nalon explorers joined human expeditions to map new star systems. The species that had once despised each other were learning to work together, united by the recognition that humanity's way of solving problems was often better than the old methods of endless debate and political maneuvering. 10 years later, Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the deep space explorer UNS Horizon, looking out at a galaxy that had been transformed. Where once there had been rigid borders and species hatred, now there were joint colonies and mixed crews. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth," reported his communications officer. "Put it through." President Brooks appeared on the screen, but she was calling with good news for once. "Admiral, our deep space sensors have detected signals from outside the galaxy. It looks like we might have neighbors." Morrison smiled. The galaxy had spent so much time fighting itself that it had never looked beyond its own borders. Now, with humanity's leadership, they were ready to explore new frontiers. "Understood, Madam President. The Horizon is ready for extended exploration duty." "I thought you might be." "Jake, the galaxy expected humanity to remain quiet forever. Instead, we taught them that sometimes the quiet neighbors are the ones you should never awaken." As the transmission ended, Morrison looked out at the stars that no longer seemed distant and hostile. The thunder that had once announced humanity's arrival at war now heralded their leadership in peace. The galaxy had learned that humans possessed both the capacity for terrible vengeance and an even greater capacity for forgiveness. They could destroy their enemies completely or welcome them as friends depending on the choice those enemies made. It was a lesson that would echo through the stars for generations to come. The quiet species from the small blue world had taught the galaxy that true strength came not from oppression, but from the willingness to defend what was right and protect what was precious. And in the silence between the stars, new thunder was already beginning to build as humanity prepared to take its first steps beyond the galaxy itself. The universe was vast, but it would not remain quiet for long.